Okay, so I hope you will bear with me if I have to skip some parts because of lack of time. And because of the nature of the topic, and I'm not very sure if all of you are very well versed already in the meritorious deeds. May I know by a show of hands, how many of you actually have not read or heard about the 10 meritorious deeds? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you. So I think I will elaborate a little bit on that part. Okay. Although the topic states it's like a comparison between dana and meditation, but I think we need to elaborate on the other meritorious deeds as well, just for the sake of those who are not familiar with it. Alright? Now, punya. Before we go into the topic of meritoriousness, we need to know the concept of merit, punya in Pali, as it is used in the Buddhist context, in the Buddhist system, according to right views, according to the way it should be referred to. So this punya is actually all those good, positive conditions that one might wish for oneself and for others. For example, good health, right? Everybody wants to be healthy. Long life, what else? Wealth, success in career and studies, what else? Good circumstances all the time, whatever you do. Isn't that right? Everyone wants that. It's very desirable. It's agreeable. Something that we wish for all the time. And as human beings, we know that it is not easy to get all these things according to your wish. But I will teach you a way, the Buddhist way, where you can get your wish granted. A very simple way. So later on, not now. So when we wish for people, all these positive conditions, enhancing conditions, we mean well, right? But when we say this word, may you be blessed, may you be blessed with good health, wealth, success, or even may you be blessed with the blessings of the Triple Gem, which is very common, which we may be sending messages to our Buddhist friends, telling them, messaging them on this blessing. May you be blessed with it. But we have to remember that the way the word blessing is used in Buddhism is also very different from the original meaning, which is actually borrowed from Christianity and Islam. Okay, so when we use it, it might confuse beginners, people who are new to the Dhamma, and they might misconstrue it as something that they can ask for or they can receive from a divine power like a creator God. Because in Christianity, we say, God bless us. You pray for blessings from God. Right? But in Buddhism, do we have this sort of thing? Do we have blessing ceremonies? Yeah. In some centers, I heard that they do. So it can be quite confusing for a lot of people who are quite well versed in the Dhamma. So it's a blessing. It's a kind of favor that you are asking from someone who is superior, who can, you believe, who can give it to you. Right? A favor, a kind of a divine favor, is it? But in Buddhism, who is it who can bless us? Can the Buddha bless us? Can the Triple Gem really bless us? So these are questions that people have in their mind, but they don't know how to ask, or they are too shy to ask. What do you think? What do you think? Yes? Yeah, it's a usage. So if you know it's just a usage, then what do we really mean when we wish that for ourselves or for our friends? Do you know? Anyone? How? How does it work? I'm sure these are questions you have asked yourself before. So we need to clarify it. When we talk about blessings, if you're just using this, talking about just the usage of this word in Buddhism, in the Buddhist text, they didn't use it in the beginning. They actually used the Pali version, punya, P-U-N-Y-A, pronounced as P-U-N-Y-A, punya, but spelled as P-U-N-N-A, and with a wavy line on top. Okay? Because this word you will always come across when you read the scriptures. So it's important to be very clear in your mind what this word really means. So you see the word punya, kiriya, hotu. Punya. In Thai we call it bun. So like Thai people and even Chinese people like to use this name bun, P-O-O-N. Especially people in Penang. Because bun means food. Like bun chai and all that. Those are actually from Thai. And then when we do dana, I was very surprised because my mom used to say thambun. So thambun in Thai actually means make married. Tham means to do something. Thamngan, thambun, to do. Married is bun. Thambun. Thambun is to dana, or for 2 months. That's what those people, old people in Penang used to say until it became a Hokkien word. So when we talk about punya, we are talking about all those results of our wholesome deeds, our meritorious deeds. So if you understand the Dhamma, then straight away you will know that this is the same as what? Anyone? It's all the results of all the good deeds that we have done through body, speech, and mind, in the past and in this present existence, in all the uncomfortable past lives. So isn't this kusala vipaka? So they are the result of all our actions. So we are the ones who bless ourselves, not the monks, not any god. Understand? I hope you all follow me, because this is a very important issue which a lot of people don't really understand, because they have used this word, the blessing service, ask the monks to bless us. The monks can help only to a limited extent, for example, by chanting the paritas. Yeah? Because there are lots of conditions that need to come into play before you can get what you want, by asking the monks to chant parita for them, before they sit for an exam, before they undertake something that is very important in their life. So this is the only way the monks can help, by uplifting your spirit, making you more confident, that's all. But they cannot really help you to pass your exam by chanting a parita. Neither can they help you to be successful in your career. Because if that is possible, then it will be very easy for us. We don't need to know about the law of karma. We don't need to do meritorious actions. We can just go to the monks and keep on asking for favors. The same goes for the practice of deva worshipping. You know, those days we are told to, as Chinese in Malaysia, we are told to pray with a chopstick and then ask for all kinds of things. My mom used to teach me. So I would also do that when I was young. So we think that this is the way that, you know, that is true and that it works. But actually it is the working of karma that we can bless ourselves. So we have to think in that sense. The only time I say when you can use this word blessings properly is because it has already been used in the scriptures, especially in the Mahamangala Sutta. I'm sure you all have. You're familiar with that, right? So that's called the life's highest blessings. And if you look at all those 38, the list of 38, are they not those things that you have to do, not something that's given to you, like associating with the wise. Do not associate with the foolish. The foolish are those who do not know the Dhamma or who have wrong views. Some may know the Dhamma, but they still have very strong wrong views because they are not clear about the Dhamma. And then living in a place that is close to the temple or monastery where you can learn the Dhamma, this is a blessing. So all of you, I can say, are very blessed to be staying very near to Sambuddhi Center. That's why you are able to access the Buddha's teachings. Right? Without knowing the Buddha's teachings, you will continue to have wrong views and cling to them. And with wrong views, you will get involved in the wrong practice also. That deva worshipping, going to sin sand, asking for fortune and so on. So this is not the correct practice. When you do that, you are not going for refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha anymore. You are going to them for refuge. You are going to the fortune tellers. You are going to the sin sand. Right? So I hope you all are clear now. So when we talk about punya, we talk about all those things that we wish for, the conditions, and why? Because we are happy with them, we like them, and they purify the mind. That is very important, the quality. If you look at the meaning of punya in Pali, that's how it's derived, It cleanses your mind. It is something very virtuous. So while doing this, while being involved in these activities, you are purifying your mind. There's this process of purification, like you purify water. All the dirt comes out, is eradicated. To a certain extent, when you do all these meritorious deeds. But not all these meritorious deeds are equally effective in purifying the mind. Because like, for example, dana, there are so many factors you have to think about. The Buddha talked about this in the Akusala Rasik Sutta. And many people are not aware of this. So I will introduce them to you in a short while. Okay? So now let me continue with the three bases of making merit. So in all the temples, in traditional Buddhist societies, everywhere, especially Burma, Thailand, Sri Lanka, if you visit them, throughout the year they have activities. And all these activities revolve around the making of merit. Because lay people, those days, they are very aware that they can get merits for doing all these things. So dana, number one. In one day you have breakfast dana, lunch dana, and then afternoon dana, also juice dana. So people are very busy and they hope that they can get lots of merits from doing this dana. Okay, and then the other one is observing more. Oh, besides that, they have a katina, offering robe, and they offer robes, but it's called Samhika Dana. It's not called katina, okay? And then they have like Maga Puja, Abhidhamma Day. In fact, the whole calendar, the 4 years calendar is full of all these merit-making practices. So when the Buddha first introduced this, he only talked about three bases of merit. There is three ways, three means of making merits. And there is dana, sila, bhavana. So we find this recorded in the earlier Buddhist texts like the Idam and the Anguttara Nikaya. But later on, they added 7 more of these practices, and then it became 10. So we have these 3, and then we have the later ones. So Bjorn, can you show them the slide for the 10? I think some of you are already very familiar with it. You should memorize it. You should learn it thoroughly, so that this is one of those 10 meritorious. I should learn how to do it properly, perform it in the correct way, with a strong volition, because whenever you do these actions, the volition must be very strong. The mental work behind it, the mental process. It's not a matter of physically offering something and then that's it. and then you go away. I've seen a lot of people doing that in the meditation center. They just come, they're so busy, they don't even want to chant the 5 precepts or do the normal puja, like what you all did just now. They just want to go there, offer the monk, and then quickly just go on. So that is a very careless way of doing Dhamma. So we must learn. Like, for example, all these are in the Dhamma. So I hope you all have listened to talks about this, like before the danam, during the danam, and after the danam. You have to maintain your mind in a very pure state to be able to read the effects. So when you learn how to do all these things, then your offering will be very effective. If you are hoping to be born as a deva in the next lifetime or in the future life. But this is not all. The Buddha mentioned other conditions as well. For example, we have to look at there are 4 more factors. The givers, purity of mind. That's why you must recite 5 precepts before you offer anything. Why? A lot of people ask me why. So these people who just come and just offer and go out, they don't want to chant the 5 precepts. So they're actually losing out. They're not getting the full benefit of their Dhamma. Because when you recite the 5 precepts, you're purifying your mind, you're reinforcing in your mind your undertaking to observe the precepts. And this involves volition. Whenever we undertake the precepts, there must be this mind, mental factor, we say cessation and Idam. There is the willingness, the volition, intention, and then when the conditions arise for us to break the precept, we abstain from it. So that is the most important thing. So when we have volition like that, after learning thoroughly about each of these practices, then with a strong volition, we can perfect that practice that we are doing. Okay? So we need to know this, we need to learn. So we have here all the 10. So they extended it to apacayana, showing reverence and respect for elders. Here it means those who excel us, or those who are older than us, like our parents, our uncle, auntie, brothers, elder brothers, and so on. So this is something very important. It has a humbling effect on us. So we get rid of conceit, which is also a very subtle kind of mental defilement in us all the time. And then, of course, Dhamma teachers, we have to rise up from our seat, we have to bow to them. Okay, so all this has purpose. The volition is very important. And the next one is vacha, rendering service and assistance to others. This is good also because we are helping other people, we are facilitating the temple or the monastery or the centers to allow people to come and be comfortable when they are listening to Dhamma talk, we sweep the place. Sweeping is a very, very good. Cleaning and sweeping the temple is a very important vacha, which unfortunately nowadays doesn't happen anymore in the Buddhist centers because they employ maids. But in Burma, you can see people go to the temple early in the morning before they go to work, bringing their own brooms with them. They cycle, because we were on tour in Burma, we will see a few cyclists with brooms at the back, and then we wonder what are they doing. They are going to the local temple to go and sweep before they go to work. Actually, there was an incident regarding this. There was a lady. She had skin rashes, and then she cannot be cured. So she met, I think it was Anuruddha, one of the Buddha's eminent disciples. And then he told her, because he could see into her past, he said that you have this problem. So what you can do is you can go and sweep the temple, donate to establish, to construct a community hall, and fill up the water pots. Those days they had to fill up water pots for drinking for people who come. So she did that, and then she was much better after that. And then later on she met the Buddha. And then Buddha gave her a sermon, and then she attained also. So sweeping the temple is something very common in Myanmar, but not over here. Cleaning temple. It doesn't belong to anybody, it belongs to the community, but you know the purpose of a temple. Similarly, when you build a monastery, then all the good deeds that are done in the monastery, you have a part in it, you have a share in it. So that's why this construction of Sapodi, we encourage people to donate. Your share is there, your share of merit is there. Every time, not just once, every time there's a Dhamma talk, every time there's a Dhamma, you have a share in it. Because you are using that building. It's all done inside that building. So it's also important that the center holds these events. Otherwise, I've seen some centers where they build it and then it goes dynamically because no one's using it for some reason or other. Then how can you get your share of merits for contributing donation to build that building? Nothing is happening there. So we must do all these carry out all these practices in the centers so that all the devotees can benefit from their offering, from their donations, from their Vayavacha service, so service to the temple. Patidana, yes, transferring merits to others. When we do something good, we share it with other people. Why? For their welfare, for them to be happy, because we are thinking of them. So I think this one is quite easy, and especially those who have passed away. When we share the merits with them, if they are around, sometimes in Myanmar, they invite them. You're going to have a Sangika Dana in their memory, then you call them, you tell them in your mind. Okay, you can message them. So tell them tomorrow at this time I will be doing the Dhamma. Okay. Somebody asked me this question, so I said, "Do you want to message her?" your mind can connect, with these things, and then they will come. If they happen to be there, they will be very happy. They will appreciate. And you see, and even if you don't have any relatives, all the other beings will come also. Because you will also share with all the other beings, right? So in Myanmar, it's translated in the Myanmar language. I can't say here because you won't understand, but I think some of you know, that is the one. Come, all come and take a share of your merits. We share with you this merit. Come and share, come and take it. Yeah? And in Burma, they even ring the gong to tell the devas. Every time you donate to the temple, the man there will ring the gong. So he rings the gong as a signal to the devas that somebody has just donated to the temple. And then that man in charge of that temple, he will recite certain things. Then the devas will think. So I think most of these things you don't know unless you are told. But this is not practiced here. So immediately they may be able, if all the other conditions are fulfilled, first they must be beta, they must be hungry ghosts. If they are not hungry ghosts, unfortunately they cannot receive this sort of transference of merits. So we actually share the merits with them. Okay? But if they are deva, they may be able to witness if they are very close to you, because normally they don't like to hang around us. They will be on their way doing their own business, really, enjoying their sensual pleasures as a deva. So they won't remember you. But if they are beta, if they are very close to you, and if it's especially in a certain death, they may try to connect with you. So they'll be very happy if they can get those gifts. So it seems if you offer robes, they will get clothing, because betas normally don't have much clothes. That's why they don't want to show themselves. If you offer drinks like water to monks, to sangha, then they will get water to drink because they are very thirsty. They are born in a very deprived conditions, all sorts of deprived conditions. Okay, I think I have to move on. Rejoicing in the merit and the good deeds of others. This one I think you know is a practice of mudita. And so when other people are doing a very grand dharma, we should not be envious of them, we should be congratulating congratulating them by saying sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So every time we use this word sadhu, sadhu to show that we are happy because of what they are doing. And when we are happy and we rejoice, we ourselves will get a share of the merits too. From just that the other person did. Okay? And just the same as when you transfer merit, the relative, the deceased relative will say sadhu, sadhu, or he's very happy. They may say in their own language, whatever it is. Then Dhamma savana, listening and learning the Dhamma. Because when we impart the Dhamma to others, then they know there are 5 benefits of listening to the Dhamma. They clarify their doubts, they straighten their views, which is the last one. So all the 5, I'm sure you have listened to these sound talks. 5 benefits of listening to Dhamma. And then Dhamma desana, the person giving the Dhamma talk. So when you are listening to Dhamma talk and giving Dhamma talk, there's no way your mind will be defiled with lots of defilements. Because you are following the talk. You understand. You cannot be having greed, hatred, and a lot of delusion. There might be a little delusion that we are not clear. So that's why it's purifying effect too. And then the last one, holding right views. What do we mean by right views? So I qualify here because if you look into AI or internet nowadays, they give you a lot of things which is not reliable. Be very careful, The center invited Sarah Damika, right, recently. Then I arranged for it, and then he came. But before he came, somebody went into AI and asked for his details. And then she asked me, and this person is one of my yogi. So I was very surprised. Why would she go and ask AI when she knows this monk? She has meditated with him before. She has done danam with us in Mangala Lodge. She's gone to Penang also. She's in our group. And then I read it. It had a photo of Sayadaw. And that photo was taken from one of the flyers that we did. And then it was taken from Sayadaw's Dhamma online poster. He had Dhamma online during COVID. So that very same poster of photo of Dhamma nature was there. And then next to it was a write-up about his biodata. And he says that he's a vegetarian. He has been a vegetarian for I don't know how many years. And then he focused on metta practice. He doesn't mention anything at all about Mahasi Sayadaw's teachings or Vipassana meditation. And then there were a lot more things that he stayed where and where, which are all wrong. Almost every detail given there. So I was very surprised. This is what happens when you go into AI and research for things like that, especially for the Dhamma. In fact, also I came across many Buddha quotes on the internet, which are actually not Buddha's quotations. Buddha never said all these things. But they put there Buddha's quotations. This is actually a very bad karma because you are misrepresenting the Buddha. So later on, I looked carefully at the AI photo that she sent me, and then I saw actually the name was spelled wrongly. It says Tamanya Sayadaw. The spelling was Tamanya. So there's only two alphabets there that was swapped. Tamane and Tamanya, and N-A-Y and N-Y-A. So they got everything mixed up. So they were talking about Tamanya Sayadaw, because Tamanya Sayadaw I know. When I was practicing in Burma, I heard about Tamanya Sayadaw. He was very famous. So that was actually the birthday of Tamanya Sayadaw, not Tamane Sayadaw. But the photo was Sayadaw Damika. And apparently he's still alive, and Tamanya Sayadaw has passed away many years ago. So you see, all the things that you get from AI is wrong. So when I sent to Sayadaw, I sent it to Sayadaw. He was so shocked. But as usual, he doesn't say anything. He's very careful about what he says. He just kept going. But we know. No, that's not the only thing. Huh? So be very careful. So when I looked at this word, Titi-Jukama, somebody had accessed the internet and said to me, it said, right understanding of life. This is definitely not correct. It's not about life. Understanding about life is not Titi-Jukama. So I I made the change here. Okay? So it means two things. You must understand the meaning of going for refuge correctly. Because it's so basic to be a Buddhist, you go for refuge. But many people don't understand the meaning behind going for refuge. And then, the other one that is very important, before you will make effort to do all these practices to get married, definitely you must have belief in karma and its result. The most important thing is ownership of karma. That means you do that deed, you are the ones who did it, you are the one who will reap its results, not somebody else. That is very important. Otherwise, you will not believe in doing all these 10 practices. So that last meritorious deed is important. And how do we get this? We get this from listening to Dhamma talk, from discussing the Dhamma with people who are more knowledgeable than us, not among people who have about the same knowledge as us. Then we will just go round and round, and in the end, you don't know who is right and who is wrong. Okay? So now you can see that this pen can also be regrouped under the tree, right? Can you try to do it? Can you try to do it? Because some people are very confused. They say, I only heard about pen, never heard about tree. I say it's the same. They say, no, it's not the same. Tree is the first tree only. So can you try to regroup it and see whether you can catch it? And then you might discover something deeper, on a deeper level than what it says. Yeah, a lot of people think rendering services is dana. It can be classified as dana through the temple. Yeah. But it comes also another.
Another one is
Or sila. Because when you talk about sila, there are two aspects to sila. There is varita sila and charita sila. Charita sila means what you should do. Varita sila means what you should not do. So there are two aspects when you really look into sila properly. And the commentaries explain it very clearly. What we ought to do, like when it comes to temple service, or what we ought to do. What we should not do in the temple. Not just 5 precepts. Of course, the basic is 5 precepts, 8 precepts, and the ajiva dhamma sila, that is the right livelihood which you need to keep in your daily life. It's also 8. Ajiva dhamma, the right livelihood. It ends with right livelihood. They expand the 4th precept, and then it ends with right livelihood. There was 8 precepts for daily life. Okay? So, don't you think that listening to the Dhamma, preaching the Dhamma is mental?
8, 9, 10 is bhavana.
So it's bhavana.
8, 9, 10 about bhavana.
Yeah. And 10 is
Bhavana.
bhavana. Okay, so can you show them this? So Vyavecha apachayana is what we should do, comes under sila. But you want to argue that it can come under dana, is also okay. But ultimately, all of them is incorporated into the last one, into Yukam. Understanding, right? And the right view. You need it. The right view of all these things. Okay, never mind, we'll move on. So now I hope that you all have got a good grasp of the 10 meritorious actions for those of you who are very new. And move on to the next part. We compare now. There's a comparison now. Why? Why is it we say that keeping precept is more virtuous, more meritorious than doing Dhamma? And why is meditation more virtuous and more meritorious than doing the first two? Because in the earlier text, as I told you, and in this order here, they have numbered it as 1, 2, 3. It is in order of difficulty, right? Is it very easy to practice 8 precepts? Many people are frightened of practicing 8 precepts. Why? Because they are very attached to taking their dinner take 5 meals a day, some take 6 meals a day. They are afraid they will miss out on it. They cannot give up, cannot sacrifice, cannot let go. They talk so much about letting go, but they can't let go. Because they are so accustomed to it. So sometimes we are very attached. When we are accustomed to something, we tend to be very attached to it. So it's very difficult for us. But we need to pluck out the courage to try. Once you try it, you know you can do it. It's very easy the second time, and then the third time, it's like nothing. The people who have been going for retreats, they can go for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. It doesn't mean anything to them, nothing at all, because it's so easy. It's like a second nature. So the difficulty is there. Number 2 reason is no effort. We don't want to make the effort. The Buddha says effort is very important. We have to exert ourselves. We have to put in effort. Many people tend not to go for retreat because, if I go for the retreat, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. Cannot use the phone, cannot connect, cannot surf internet, cannot even read newspaper. All this very difficult to let go because already used to it in everyday life. So they are locking themselves away in their own comfort zone and not being able to reach deeper dimensions of the mind because they have limited themselves to all the very essential things in life. Don't you think all this is very essential? There is something that is more beautiful, more worthy than sensual desires. But you have not encountered them, and because you have not encountered them, your appreciation of this unworldly joy is not there. But once you have practiced, so many people, when you start the practice of Vipassana, because I teach Vipassana, so I just use that as an example. But in this case, Bhavana means both Samatha and Vipassana, not just Vipassana. So when we are accustomed to it, then it's okay, there's nothing wrong. It's nothing, it's just a state of mind, it's the attachment. So after they have reached a certain stage, for some yogis, it's very fast. In one retreat, they can reach this stage. For some other yogis, maybe they have to persist, they have to repeatedly practice in a few more retreats, like 3 or 4 retreats. But you don't have to worry because you cannot go back. You cannot go back. Like your knowledge you learn in school. You go from standard 1 to standard 6. You cannot go to standard 6 and then say, oh, I have forgotten everything in standard 1, because they are building up on what you know in the past. So similarly, your inside knowledges, your experiences will only get clearer and clearer and clearer. And your inside knowledge will go higher and higher. It cannot go back again. It's not possible. So when you practice up to this level, then you realize the joy. You tasted the Dhamma. Oh, this is so beautiful. Wow, the yogis told me. Oh, I always have pain when I meditate. She just texted me yesterday, but she struggled with retreat. She doesn't want to come for retreat. So I always ask her why. And then she said, I always have so much pain. It's so painful. And then I dread getting up in the morning so early. I'm so worried about my health because now she's about my age. So a lot of worries are regarding the schedule, you see. So very reluctant to sign up for retreat. And then recently she did. She went when I was away last month. She signed up for retreat and then she said, wow, this time I had experienced, the joy. Oh, it's so good. The minute it came out, I was so surprised, and then I was thinking, wow, if meditation is like that, I don't mind. I don't mind meditating for 1 month or so. The minute she thought like that, it's all gone. Why? Because the mind is no more pure. So when the mind is very pure, the joy will arise, definitely for you, for everyone. Then you will realize, oh, this is the way. That's why concentration is praised by the Buddha. It purifies your mind. Now when you do dana, sila, how do you think the mind gets purified? I said just now, punya, they are punya, right? All these are punya, accumulating punya. why is it cleansing the mind? How does it clean the mind? Because of this mental process that's going on. When you are doing dana, for example, you're at that point, maybe it's only a few seconds or 1 minute, you offer the food to the monks, or you offer something, the robes, for example, it will take a brief interval, right? But at that point in time, when you are doing it physically, your mind cannot have hatred, cannot have greed. Not possible, because your mind is letting go of something that you have in your possession. So non-greed, non-hatred cannot arise in that mind. So we are talking about moments of mind. At that time, your mind is very pure. But it's only for a short while. Because like in the Akusala Rasi Sutta, the last sutta I'm going to show to you, it is explained. Can you continue to do dana the whole day, whole night, without pause? Cannot. To make this pure mind continuous? Cannot. You cannot, right? So only for the brief interval, you are this kind of then the joy arises. When you are giving something up, also there is this similar type of joy. It is not the sensual joy, sensual enjoyment. You're giving up something, you're giving. Why do you feel happy when you give something? It's because the mind is pure. So if you can understand this, then you can understand the joy that arises in your meditation. And it is not just for a brief moment, For people like us who have been practicing for a long time, the joy can continue for hours, can continue for even one whole day when you are walking, when you are sitting, when you are eating, and especially for people who do samatha, it can carry on for days and days. And they can just go into jhana easily because of this joy. It is harmless. There's nothing wrong with it. It's only when a beginner like this lady, she is so full of greed already now. So the joy now is no longer joy. There's a lot of greed in her mind, lust, wanting this state to last longer. The minute this tanha arises, there's no more purity of mind. So similarly, when you are doing dana, if something were to distract you, that purity is also gone. So it is very delicate when you do dana to retain that purity of mind. So because of this, we say that practice of meditation, whether samatha or vipassana, is more meritorious than doing dana. If you can understand this logical reasoning, do you agree with this? Do you agree with this? Okay, now sila. Let's talk about sila. Can you show them the akusala rasi? Because time is running out, so I have to forward. Akusala rasi sutta. The Buddha says, when one says heap of wholesome qualities, one is rightly speaking of the four foundations of mindfulness. This alone, monks, is the heap of wholesome qualities. The Buddha said a heap, Yes, you can say that dana and sila is also a heap of wholesome qualities. But the one that has the most, compared to all those meritorious deeds, is when you are watchful of your mind, moment to moment, whatever you are doing. Because when you practice the satipatthana meditation, when you are sitting, you are noting all the time. Right? You have the object of meditation. You are required to note whatever happens at the six sense doors. When you hear sound, you note hearing. Right? When you have nimitta, you have images, you know. So the noting goes on and on. And then when you get up, when you change posture, you have to slowly rise up from your seat, note the movements you make. When you're standing, you note the standing posture. Continuous, without pause. You are required to do that. Of course, when you are beginner or not so advanced, there will be gaps here and there. But you don't need to worry about the gaps. You will know, oh, there was a gap, I didn't know. So that itself, catching yourself, having a gap in your noting, is also mindfulness. It's mindfulness that tells you, others you won't know. So you continue. when you are eating, when you are going about your daily activities, you are mindful. So your purity of mind can be so continuous for the whole day. How many hours? 20 hours. The only time you cannot be mindful is when you are asleep at night. In deep sleep, you cannot be mindful. 4 hours. This is the recommended schedule by Vipassana. But of course, we are not so strict. When you are a beginner, we have to allow the yogis to adjust the practice according to what they can do. So they allow you, like the wake-up time is 4 o'clock, some yogis get up at 5 o'clock. It's okay. You do what you can do. We don't force. And if you think that it's not enough, you want to extend it 6 hours. So they allow you to sleep for 6 hours. And then you go to bed at 9 o'clock. So if you count, isn't it the same as what you do at home? You also sleep around 6 hours. No. And then we allow you to rest after lunchtime also. So there are some yogis also tend to sleep during that 1 hour after lunch. So we feel that's good enough. Yeah? And when we talk about Vipassana meditation, you can continue for a long time, days and days. So when you count all this, let us say, according to Mahasi Sayadaw, he likes to give this analogy so that you can picture it. Suppose you have one noting per second, Like 1 minute, 60 seconds, right? 1 hour, 60 minutes. So in 1 hour alone, sitting meditation or walking meditation, you come here to practice on Fridays, right? So you practice 2 hours, right? Maybe 1 hour walking, 1 hour sitting, or maybe shorter than that. So you are accumulating a lot of merits actually, much more than doing Dhamma. Because 3,600, 60 times 60, 3,600 notings. Mindful notes, we say X of noting. We say X of it's a mental X, but no karma. You know, we can create karma through body, speech, and mind. This is karma through the mind, which is very powerful because it's so continuous. So 3,600 notings of mindful X of awareness in 1 hour. And for 20 hours is 72,000. 72,000 per day. So in a short interval, you have so much more. Just now I pointed out to you when you do offering of dana, it's so short only, so little. I don't know, maybe 100, 200. Noting when your mind is really pure, and you are also not noting at the time. The mind is pure, no doubt. You may enjoy the joy that comes out. So you are not noting after that. Not most people, when they experience joy, they forgot to note. So that's why it completely disappears and then replaced by defilements. Okay, now we talk about sila. Sila is slightly better than dana because I told you just now, when we undertake to observe a certain precept, we have already established in our mind stream, that if there is an occasion to break the precept, for example, killing or stealing, I will abstain. You already decided. So, but this occasion cannot arise throughout the day. For example, the whole day, if you stay at home, there's no occasion for you to break the precept, right? So how are you going to put this into practice? Although you have undertaken the precept, you don't purposely go and look for the situation has to come to you. You have to encounter it, understand? So when this situation arises, only there is this volition, the cetana. We talk about cetana. There's this cetana to abstain. And this abstinence, in terms of Idam, is one of the beautiful cetasika. It's called viranti. Abstain from wrong speech. When there's occasion for you to tell us you don't want to say. Then occasion for you to comment something that can hurt somebody, that is truthful, but it can hurt somebody, you abstain. Okay? Or something that goes against the Dhamma. You are not sure, you are doubtful, so you abstain from saying it first. So when you practice this sort of volition, when you have this sort of volition, because of undertaking the precept, you'll be very extra cautious. But can this volition arise throughout the day and night uninterruptedly? Can or not? It cannot arise, right? Because you may not have the situations arising. So still, it is the heap of merit is not as big as the one that you can accumulate from Vipassana practice. And then if you really want to know what the Buddha said when he compared these practices, can you show them the diagram? You have to go backwards now. Sorry. So long ago there was a Brahman. Sorry, I couldn't type, I couldn't write because I'm having some problems with my pinch nerve, so I had to take wholesale from the Sister. So you can ask Brother Beyond to send to you, and then you can read it thoroughly from your own reliable source for the Dhamma, or from those slides that you have prepared. So I'll just run through with you because we are running out of time. There was a Brahmin actually, not Brahman. His name was Velama. And he was very rich. So one day, after studying his scriptures, the Brahmin culture, he was very close to the governor, the king. And then he opened his father, they were all very wealthy, and he had accumulated a lot of treasures in his possession. But he never bothered about it because he was not of that nature. Then one day he opened and saw, wow, there are so many rooms full of treasures. What shall I do with it? 7 years of accumulated treasures. So he decided, I shall pronounce, and then ask people to come and take whatever they want. I'll do a grand danam. Then he checked. Is there anyone who is, first of all, is there anyone worthy of my danam? You see, he's a very smart person. When you do danam, the worthiness of the recipient is also very important. That's why we say the Sangha is a field, unsurpassable field of merit for the world. That's why we always try to offer gifts to the Sangha, firstly because they depend on us. Without us offering food, they can't live. So there's this dependency, interdependency, and we need to offer to them so that we can get merits, we can continue to make merits. Right? So he decided, is there anybody worthy of my offering that I will give to him first, him or her? But he couldn't find anybody. Because how did he know? He made a solemn oath. I turn this water jar, you fill it up, I turn it upside down, the water does not flow out, and there's nobody. And the water didn't flow out. So he knows there's nobody worthy. When we talk about worthiness here, we're talking about virtuous people in terms of sila, bhavana, and their status of saintship. So there was no one living at his time who even kept the 5 precepts, because it was not during the Buddha Sasana period. So you see, you're very lucky, you are now born in the Buddha Sasana period, you have the chance to access a Dhamma teacher, a Vipassana teacher. These things are not available, especially Vipassana. You can access Samatha teachers, even when the Buddha Sasana is not around. You can learn Metta, you can learn the Brahma Vihara, but you cannot learn Vipassana. It's only a Sammasambuddha who has discovered this Satipatthana method, the only way, and who can teach it and guide people to attainment. And because he has guided those Aryas, the Aryas guide the others later on, the later generations. And that's how we can inherit this tradition, this legacy, this method. So there was no Buddha Sasana. No one actually knows the Dhamma very well at that time. But giving, people all know. Because giving is very basic. It's there all the time in this world, even before the Buddha's time. So when he declared such, then he realized, never mind, if I am the giver, I show in my position as the giver, my giving will have definitely. So he was very confident, and he still announced and asked people to come and take whatever they wanted. as much as they want. And then what happened was, when the gifts were given, I will explain to you, then he fed 100 people. And then after that, he actually, this story was told by Buddha, Gautama Buddha, to Anathapindika. So it's recorded here as Velama, because his name was Velama and he was the Bodhisattva. He was our Gautama Buddha at that time. He lived at the time when there was no Buddha's dispensation. So he remembered his past life. So it's now talking about itself, Gautama Buddha, as Velama. So he gave so many, 84,000 gold bowls filled with silver coins and silver bowls, 84,000 filled with gold coins, and so much cloth, fabric, all kinds of things he gave away. Very valuable treasures. But if he had fed just one person who is a sotapanna, here it says right view, but if you look at the commentaries, they explain that this means a strict enterer. If he had offered alms to one person who is a sotapanna, his merit, we say the fruit of the deed of offering all those material things, would have been much greater. Do you get that? So all he offered was material things. No matter how good it is, it's still material things. If you give food to the Arya, Sotapanna, it will be greater. Then he said, you continue. Though he fed 100 people, 100 street enterers, okay, it will be better for him to feed one returner. It would be even greater. So it's comparing now 100 Sotapanna with one Sakadagami. Okay? And then you compare again Sakadagami with Anagami. And then Arahant. And then after that, to the Paccaya Buddha. Better to feed 100 Paccaya Buddha. You get more merits. And better than 100 Paccaya Buddha. You know what are Paccaya Buddhas? They are silent Buddha. They arise when there is no Sammasambuddha also, but they can teach only Dhamma and Sila. They cannot guide you in Vipassana so that they can attain enlightenment. These are called silent Buddhas. So, after that, it's even better to feed the Sammasambuddha compared to 100 Paccaya Buddhas. Then you compare this to the Sangha. If you direct your mind that when you do offering to Sankika Dana, you do Sankika Dana, you must direct your mind to the Sangha. When you invite the monk to your house and then you think that you're offering food to the monk, that dana is not so meritorious. Unless you direct your mind to the Sangha. That means even though it's just one monk you have invited to your house, but you reflect that this monk is representing the whole Sangha. When we say representing the Sangha, we mean including the Buddha, including all the eminent disciples, not just the living Sangha in your community. So which means you are offering in their name, in their honor. Right? So that's why the merits is much more. Remember the incident of Mahapajapati Gautami? She wanted to offer the robes to the Buddha, and then the Buddha told her, if you offer this to the Sangha, you get much more merits. And then she offered it to the Sangha. And then nobody dared to go and receive it to represent the Sangha. And there was this monk, not very well-known monk, not very prominent. And that was the future Buddha, Meritorious Buddha, as a Bodhisattva. He was a monk who actually received it. So, and if you offer a monastery, like I said just now, for the monks to use, because they have no shelter, you're offering shelter, and you're offering all those place shelter for all the good deeds, then it will be greater. And then after that is the next in the list is going for refuge. Yes, going for refuge. That all of you take refuge in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. But some of you may not understand the meaning of going for refuge, as I said just now. You must go for refuge wholeheartedly with complete faith and wisdom. Like for example, if you take refuge in the Dhamma, it means whatever the Buddha says, is true to you. There's no doubt about it. But if you doubt what the Buddha said, that means you are not taking the Dhamma as your refuge. You are doubting the Buddha's words, right? So you have to examine your own mind, whether such doubts arise, or whether you don't agree with the Buddha on certain points. You don't have to disagree, but you can KRV, and then you can check the facts later on. You can ask people, you can inquire. This is the spirit of inquiry that the Buddha encouraged also. It's called Dhamma Sakkacha. And this is inside the Mangala Sutta. Go to the people who are knowledgeable, especially the monks who are very learned, like Dhamma. He's very learned, and his conduct is very virtuous. That's why he was given the award. You don't get this sort of award. You don't give this sort of award to any monk in Myanmar, because there are so many monks in Myanmar. He is now member of a 6-member council, State Sangha Mahanayaka. It means of all the monks in Myanmar, they have this council to represent a governing body for the whole of the Sangha. But he's very humble. He doesn't mention it. I only found out from the therapy. State Mahanayaka, and he's the youngest at the age of 69. The rest are all about 80 years old. Because they are very learned. They are Pali, they are learned in 2 things, Pariyati and Patipati. That means in terms of Pali, they are very good Pali scriptures. He can rattle off whatever Mahasi Sayadaw teach, in which book, on which page. He can tell you directly. His memory is so good. Because he has read thoroughly all Mahasi Sayadaw's books. That's why if you have any doubts about Mahasi Sayadaw's practice or method, you just need to ask him. And not just Mahasi Sayadaw. He's very well versed in the other Dhamma areas as well. So, when we practice, when our practice is very pure, we are very careful with our morality as well, because we can see ourselves, we can see our mind, the working of our own mind, and that is you are the witness yourself, your own working of the mind. Then we can check ourselves better. So we have to be very mindful. When we are not mindful, we are distracted, or we are careless, or we are reckless, then we cannot do that. So that's why the precepts are very supportive when we are practicing meditation. That's why we require you to keep the precepts when you are meditating. Even if you don't want to keep them, like some Westerners, they say, can't we just keep the 5 precepts and join the retreat? Then my teacher, Sarojini Upanita, he said, okay, you can. So they allowed that. But at the end of the day, maybe around 1 week into the retreat, they themselves decided to undertake the 8 precepts. Because you notice the ethical quality of your mind becomes very strong there in the retreat. Because you are so mindful, when you see ants, you are quite cautious because you are very worried that you step on them. So you try to avoid them. But in daily life, you don't bother. You sweep them away. You wipe them away. And sometimes they die because they're very reckless. You're not careful. This is what we mean. So these qualities are actually called beautiful mental factors, and you learn Abhidhamma, you come under that section. The Sobhana Chittasika. So you won't know it until you practice meditation and you realize that something is going on, something is changing in your mind stream. So those who go for the refuge must be wholehearted and faith and full of faith. Not those who are sitting on the fence, who are not very sure yet, and then they need to seek counsel with somebody else. You just need to go to the Dhamma. You're like a protector. You get the answers from the Dhamma. And the Sangha we refer to here are the Arya Sangha, not simply any monk. Some people say, when we take refuge in the Sangha, is it any monk? It's not any monk. There are 2 kinds of Sangha here. We have the conventional Sangha, and then we have the Arya Sangha. Conventional Sangha are those who ordain, who wear the robes, and then who keep try to keep the 227. But then the other one, the Arya Sangha, are those who have already attained enlightenment, at least to the stage of Sotapanna. When the Buddha was going to pass away in Kusinara, all the monks had attained already. There was nobody lesser than a Sotapanna. Because he asked this question, Ananda announced he was going to pass away. Anybody had any questions? There was no question because there was no doubt anymore about the Dhamma. All his congregation, the whole congregation of monks were Arya. So no questions. So the Buddha was very happy. Then after going for refuge, we take the 5 precepts and we must undertake these 5 precepts also. Knowingly, we need to know the conditions, the factors when we undertake the precept. Under which factors must we fulfill if we are to take this precept? Will I be breaking this precept? No. So that's why I worked very hard to bring out the book that Sayadaw gave out when he came. And that book is all about 5 precepts. So there were many questions that arise in us when we are trying to observe the 5 precepts. We are trying to be meticulous. And this is a very good quality, to be meticulous about observing the precepts. So he says that after that, after undertaking the 5 precepts, then it would be better if you develop metta. This is a samatha meditation. Okay? Because when you do metta, of course your mind is very pure, but it must be at least to the stage of upachara samadhi, that's close to jhana, attainment of jhana. Even though the time is very short, to the extent of a whiff of scent. It means you catch the smell of a scent, either sandalwood scent or some perfumes or nice smell. You just smell it once, that length of time. Only that length of time. It's a very, very short time, right? But that merit is much more than even feeding a Samasa Buddha or particular Buddhas. Okay? And then, of course, the last one is the perception of impermanence. So this refers directly to the practice of Vipassana, because it's only in Vipassana practice that you can perceive anicca lakkhana, the characteristic of anicca, dukkha, and anatta. You just need to perceive one, you don't need to perceive all 3. Because when you perceive one, automatically you have understood the other 2. Okay? So I think we don't have that much time left. Can I dedicate some time to the question and answer if they have? Or if you don't have, then I can give you some questions to think about. Hopefully your questions will be about this topic. I think there may be a lot of misunderstanding, because it's quite a long talk, but I didn't have time to finish everything. In fact, just now I was telling you about rebirth in the Deva plains on account of giving. I think you show that one. So you can go back and read this one. Many people are not aware. They think, if I do Dhamma, then I'm born as a Deva. So it's enough. I don't need to bother about doing anything else. Yeah, it's 8.36. Sorry. It's 8 point. Just remember that one, rebirth as a Deva on how to do Dhamma is 8.35. So you can research it yourself. This one is 8.36. It explains whether we need to practice all the 3. Some people, do we need to practice all the 3? Can I just do Dana and Sila and attain enlightenment? Can I just practice Dana and Sila and then become a very powerful Deva? Because when they see people doing danam, so they will have to do danam. It's easy to do danam. They are motivated to do it, and they know the benefit. But they don't quite really understand, so it's good to read the suttas. So to a limited extent, if you practice giving and sila, but you never practice meditation. It says here, he has not undertaken the basis of meritorious activity consisting in meditative development, in meditation. Then when the body breaks up, it's when you die, their existence is reborn among humans. So you can be born as human being because of your dana and because of your sila, but in unfavorable conditions. Not that means you can be born destitute in a very poor country, Like Africa, you starve the minute you're born. So there can be these sort of situations. So it's not always. And then the next one, this one is it's to a mediocre extent. You practice Dhamma and then you practice also Sila, but you don't meditate. Then you will be reborn among humans in favorable conditions. So for some people, this is good enough. I just want to be a human being. If you think human being is not a lot of suffering, and then you can come back. Welcome back. Then the next one, you can be born as Deva also if you practice it more. When you die, you can be born as in the lowest Deva realm. There are 6 Deva realms. So even in the lowest Deva realm, there are differentiation. Like the 4 great kings, they are very powerful. They exceed the other Devas in many respects. The other Devas look up to them because they are so powerful. So even in one Deva realm, there is differentiation of these assets, we say, attributes, their power, their glory, their happiness, even their experiences of smells, tastes are different now.
Is it the Chatu Maharaja?
Yes, Chatu Maharaja. Chatu means for Maharaja, for great kings. Okay. Yeah. And so on, because the sutta is very long, but you more or less get that. Then the one that is on account of giving, Buddha clearly stated, unfortunately I don't have it on the slide here, I think. So it says that if you want to emulate, you heard about devas and then now you're thinking, oh, how nice if I can be born as a deva, I have to do a lot of that. Do you think you're assured of being born as a deva? The Buddha made this statement only for the morally pure. You can be born a deva only if you keep the precepts as well. So it must be two together. If you want to be a deva for sure, you make this wish. It's also given in the Danam Pati Sutta, another sutta. You can make this wish, it's aspiration to be born as a deva. But you must have both fulfilled dana as well as sila. The observance of 5 precepts must be intact until the moment you pass away. Okay? So this is the sutta for you. 8.36. Anguttara Nikaya. AM is Anguttara Nikaya. Okay, any questions?
So we open the floor for questions.
So you listen to 2 very important suttas. The Akusala Rasi is in the Samyutta Nikaya, Satipatthana Samyutta. And Mahasi Sayadaw explained it in his book Sakkapanna Sutta. So you may have Mahasi Sayadaw's, those orange color book printed by Vipassana. Is Sakkapanna Sutta. Is inside this Sakkapanna. The questions of Sakka. Sakka was the one, he was going to pass away because he saw the 5 signs. When Deva are going to pass away, there are 5 signs. So he was very sad and very depressed. He came to the Buddha. And then the Buddha explained to him this Akusala Rasi Sutta.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you're talking about Dana, Sila,
Can you turn down the aircon, please? Thank you. I mean, turn up, sorry. Not only this. Yes.
So Dana, Sila, Bhavana, right? So, okay, Dana and Sila, which is quite easy to do for most people, always the Bhavana, the meditation, whether it's a Vipassana or Samatha. I think a lot of devotees, a lot of people have problems with it. So, as a meditation teacher, do you know why?
Yes. As I explained to you just now, first of all, fear. They have fear. And second thing is the attachment. They cannot give up the comforts of their usual daily life comforts. They cannot give up. They must have their coffee at certain time, for example. You can still have coffee in the retreat, but just not after 12:30. No, those times around 12:30 in Malaysia. So you can have it in the morning. It's not that you cannot have absolutely no coffee. We don't practice that kind of thing, but you can adjust. So fear, 2 is not letting go, not wanting to let go. Number 3 is effort, I think. make the effort to try, to even try for once. You just need to try. And then, like this lady, she tried after Salvador, went to the center in Lunas and then gave a talk. He gave a similar talk like this. In fact, the two suttas I read before, the first one, Velama, and I gave to my yogis, but I haven't read the second one, and it was in Salvador's book. So, the other reason they are reluctant to take up meditation is because there's no one to teach them properly. They cannot find access to a teacher who is on hand, to always answer their questions. Like when they have certain experiences, they have certain experiences and then they get frightened and they stop. But they keep it to themselves. They don't tell. They don't tell the teacher. They don't tell anyone. Right? So they lose faith in their practice, you see. So faith is not enough. That's the fourth reason. Faith because of doubts. You will encounter a lot of doubts in your practice. So that is why you need to ask. It is almost impossible, or rather really impossible at this time, yes, for anyone to attain enlightenment without a teacher. Not possible at all. So when we practice, we need to go for interviews with the teacher. So all the interviews will be arranged for you. If only you will sign up for the retreat. The schedule is not so bad because although it's there as a guideline, you can adjust by yourself. It doesn't mean you must walk and sit, walk and sit, walk and sit. It's not a military regime, where they pinpoint you and ask, why didn't you come? What time is it now? No, there's no such thing. You just do it by yourself. There's nobody, there's no management there, no committee, no one monitoring the yogis at all. So it's you and your own conscience. You see, everybody has gone after lunch, 1 hour break, and then at 1 o'clock everybody's reading the hall. You are the only one in the dorm or in the room. Then you may feel guilty about it, and eventually you will have to go. That's all. They don't have anyone to monitor, nobody. So that's why I say sometimes we have to tolerate the new yogis. In a way, it's good for new yogis. Yes?
Sometimes people might ask if my nature is not so inclined to meditation, can I just practice Dhamma and Sila?
I already explained, This is the start, 8.36. You can, but you have to accept, right? You have to accept your merits will be less powerful, and then when you suffer in your future, then you may decide to meditate.
So can the store of merit run out?
Yes, sometimes we say we accumulate, we use this word, actually it's in a figurative sense, it's like a store of merit, like your piggy bank, you store your merit there. But we cannot see, right? How can we know? How can we know how much we have stored? We don't know. Cannot be quantified also. Is it going to run out? We also don't know. We don't have debit credit. Although sometimes in the book they say, if you don't have any credit in your merit store, then you will suffer in your future existence. But we also don't know which karma is going to send us when. We also don't know. We are not certain about all these things, and this is why the Buddha discoursed to us. What we are certain of is present moment. That's all we know. In future, there are a lot of things we are not certain. When we are going to die, how we are going to die, we don't know. At which time we are going to die, and where our remains will be after we die. Although we can make all kinds of arrangements, we cannot be 100% sure. You may die in the plane on the way somewhere, no man's land. I'm sure you have heard of all these incidents. But the only thing we have is present. So we should be concerned more with present existence and present moment. What are we doing in our present life to provide for ourselves in our future? It's a very uncertain future that we have, unless you're already a sotapanna. If you're already a sotapanna, then it's totally different. You know where you are going. You cannot go down. You cannot go to the four miserable realms. So actually this merit making is very important for us to know that these merits are meant more for laymen. It's not so much for those who are already striving for Nibbana, like the intensive yogis. They're already in the retreat. They don't need to do all this. Not necessary. In fact, if they do it, the monks, the teacher will scold them. For example, some yogis, they are meditating and then they are thinking, oh, I want to do that now. I must go and look for the book. I must write down my name. I must book a day and so on. So all these will become distractions. So the meditation teacher doesn't like it because you are distracting yourself from your duty of meditation. So we don't encourage yogis to do this at all until they finish their retreat. When they check out, then they can do whatever they want. They can do this when they have ended their retreat. Why? Because I told you just now, it's illogical, right? You are getting so much merits from nothing in your practice. You would be foolish to stop your practice and distract yourself for a few hours by thinking of doing these things. So even the monks, you see, the monks don't do. Of course, they do a little dana. For example, like Sado, we offer him a lot of robes. So when he goes back, he will offer the robes to some of the very needy temples where nobody offers them robes. Recently, he told me Burma is so poor now. They're in an economic crisis. So some of his friends, they are chief monks in the center, they have no katina sponsor this year. So he wrote to me also, no katina sponsors. Can you imagine? When katina sponsor is a big thing in Myanmar. You know, they go on the roads to collect money and a lot of pomp, every night, and they have loudspeakers to collect. No donors, because all the young people have left the country. And giving only the old people. And they don't have much resources, not much money. And the prices of food is very high. So of course he can do dana, so he loves doing dana also. But it's not so important for them, okay? Because they are already collecting so much merits in their practice. Now, when we talk about these merits also, we must remember it's like when the Buddha, when he attained enlightenment, and then he hesitated, and then he was inclined, his mind was inclined to inaction rather than teaching the Dhamma. Why? He confessed to Brahma Sampati. When Brahma Sampati knew his thoughts and quickly came down from the Brahma realm and saluted him and pleaded with the Buddha, please, there are beings with little dust in their eyes. Let the Buddha preach so that they will understand, because they have little dust in their eyes. Not all beings are the same. All beings are not the same. We all have different temperaments. We all have different karma in the past. We have different abilities. We have different inclinations. Right? So when he heard Brahma Sampati's pleading, he paused for a while. He didn't answer back. Then he reflected. Human beings, sentient beings, are like the lotuses in the pond. You know the lotus, have you seen lotuses? They all grow from the mud, but some grow and then they get immersed in it and then they rot. They don't actually come up to the surface. And some will grow midway up, very near the surface. Some are already at the surface, some already floating on the surface, and then they blossom. So he thought, sentient beings are like that. Some are so close to the surface and they merely need to listen to my sermon. They will be awakened. So I should teach. This is how he taught. But some are so deep below the surface, although they can get the sunlight, can sustain their life, they can still grow, but they will need a long time. They will need many successive rebirths, many existences before their mind can be ready or can be mature for realization of Nibbana. Meanwhile, they have to struggle. What happens if they drop into the realms of misery? So to avoid dropping to the realms of misery, they need to cultivate these merits, to keep them up all the time, to enhance their conditions in successive rebirths until they attain enlightenment. So, for example, if you have done lots of this merit, right, you get wealth in return. as a karmic effect. Your merit is you are wealthy, right? You're successful in your business. It's very easy for a very wealthy person to do dana rather than a poor person. Right? For him to do dana is so difficult. He lacks the means, he lacks the resources. It's so difficult and he's so busy trying to eke out a living in his everyday life. He has no mind to consider going for dana, to do dana. And then talk about the facilities that he can access. A rich person, a rich man's son, for example, born into a rich family because of his merits. That's why he's born into a wealthy family. He can get very good education, they have access to education, and then his career is there already. But for a person who is born in poverty, so education is a problem for them. So all this comes in. So these merits are mostly for us while we sojourn in samsara. Most of it, almost all of it, except the very last one, that is bhavana. Because that one, that is the most meritorious, is because it does not yield only the mundane results. The results is not just mundane, but it supports your spiritual progress until you attain enlightenment, because it prepares you for enlightenment. So we need the merits while we are striving for enlightenment. So that's why the intensive yogis, after their retreat also, they teach people, they still contribute their service to the temples and so on. They don't just meditate their whole lives. They also need the merits to support them. They are supportive conditions for their spiritual progress on the path to enlightenment. So merits is very much needed by everyone until you become an Arya. Okay? I hope you all have been able to follow the talk and understand the points that I have given. Hopefully all of you will practice all the 10 meritorious deeds and spend more time to learn about it. It is the most practical thing, I think, in the temple and the Dhamma, because you can directly apply it. And as far as meditation is concerned, itself is merit really, because you're already purifying your mind every moment. You don't have to wait for the merit to come, to arise. You don't have to wait for the fruit. Sadhu, sadhu for listening and meditation.
Sadhu.